We love being able to go to the different high school, colleges, middle schools to live broadcast sporting events around the area. Georgia Alabama Sports Live appreciates all the fan support, but without a presenting sponsor like Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC in Opelika, none of this would be possible. So we want to say thank you so much. Go to glennsmith.com. That is right, glennsmith.com. See all the inventory and see why people always say, get ready to smile. Thanks, everyone, and thank you to Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC for being our presenting sponsor.
Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika invites you to discover extraordinary deals like this powerful all-new GMC Sierra 1500 Pro, now up to $12,500 off. Purchase the roomy GMC Terrain SLT, discounted up to $8,750 off, and the GMC Acadia with 3-row seating, discounted up to $6,000 off. Enjoy no payments till summertime at Glenn Smith GMC. Over 300 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. Get ready to smile. Here are 3 great Chevrolet offers from Glenn Smith in Opelika. Check out the powerful full-size and fully loaded Chevrolet Silverado High Country, discounted up to $13,000 off. Or the roomy midsize 3-row SUV, the Chevy Traverse, discounted up to $8,000 off. And the perfect size Chevy Equinox, up to $7,500 off. No payments until summertime. Over 300 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. Get ready to smile.
We love being able to go to the different high school, colleges, middle schools to live broadcast sporting events around the area. Georgia Alabama Sports Live appreciates all the fan support, but without a presenting sponsor like Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC in Opelika, none of this would be possible. So we want to say thank you so much. Go to glennsmith.com. That is right, glennsmith.com. See all the inventory and see why people always say, get ready to smile. Thanks, everyone, and thank you to Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC for being our presenting sponsor.
Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika invites you to discover extraordinary deals like this powerful all-new GMC Sierra 1500 Pro, now up to $12,500 off. Purchase the roomy GMC Terrain SLT, discounted up to $8,750 off, and the GMC Acadia with 3-row seating, discounted up to $6,000 off. Enjoy no payments till summertime at Glenn Smith GMC. Over 300 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. Get ready to smile. Here are 3 great Chevrolet offers from Glenn Smith in Opelika. Check out the powerful full-size and fully loaded Chevrolet Silverado High Country, discounted up to $13,000 off. Or the roomy midsize 3-row SUV, the Chevy Traverse, discounted up to $8,000 off. And the perfect size Chevy Equinox, up to $7,500 off. No payments until summertime. Over 300 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. Get ready to smile.
We love being able to go to the different high school, colleges, middle schools to live broadcast sporting events around the area. Georgia Alabama Sports Live appreciates all the fan support, but without a presenting sponsor like Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC in Opelika, none of this would be possible. So we want to say thank you so much. Go to glennsmith.com. That is right, glennsmith.com. See all the inventory and see why people always say, get ready to smile. Thanks, everyone, and thank you to Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC for being our presenting sponsor.
Glenn Smith, GMC, and Opelika invite you to discover extraordinary deals like this powerful all-new GMC Sierra 1500 Pro, now up to $12,500 off. Purchase the roomy GMC Terrain SLT, discounted up to $8,750 off. And the GMC Acadia with 3-row seating, discounted up to $6,000 off. Enjoy no payments till summertime at Glenn Smith GMC. Over 300 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. Get ready to smile. Here are 3 great Chevrolet offers from Glenn Smith and Opelika. Check out the powerful full-size and fully loaded Chevrolet Silverado High Country, discounted up to $13,000 off. Or the roomy midsize 3-row SUV, the Chevy Traverse, discounted up to $8,000 off. And the perfect size Chevy Equinox, up to $7,500 off. No payments until summertime. Over 300 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. Get ready to smile.
We love being able to go to the different high school, colleges, middle schools to live broadcast sporting events around the area. Georgia Alabama Sports Live appreciates all the fan support, but without a presenting sponsor like Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC and Opelika, none of this would be possible. So we want to say thank you so much. Go to glennsmith.com. That is right, glennsmith.com. See all the inventory and see why people always say, get ready to smile. Thanks, everyone, and thank you to Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC for being our presenting sponsor.
Glenn Smith, GMC, and Opelika invite you to discover extraordinary deals like this powerful all-new GMC Sierra 1500 Pro, now up to $12,500 off. Purchase the roomy GMC Terrain SLT, discounted up to $8,750 off. And the GMC Acadia with 3-row seating, discounted up to $6,000 off. Enjoy no payments till summertime at Glenn Smith GMC. Over 300 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. Get ready to smile. Here are 3 great Chevrolet offers from Glenn Smith and Opelika. Check out the powerful full-size and fully loaded Chevrolet Silverado High Country, discounted up to $13,000 off. Or the roomy midsize 3-row SUV, the Chevy Traverse, discounted up to $8,000 off. And the perfect size Chevy Equinox, up to $7,500 off. No payments until summertime. Over 300 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. Get ready to smile.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. I'm Thrift Barringer alongside my partner in crime, Richard Holdridge.
What's up?
to you by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. What do they always say, Richard?
Get ready to smile.
We appreciate them and all our supporters. We had an excellent show Monday. Thank you again to Tom Callahan, the voice of the Columbus River Dragons, for joining us. They got huge playoff games this Saturday. Actually, they starts Friday on the road, then Saturday and Sunday are at home against the rival Carolina. Winner goes to the championship. Then thank you to AJ Kehoe, 35-3 Central Red Devils. Richard, whew, you talk about loaded. They have been absolutely phenomenal. They're ranked number 7 in the country, and they look like a team right now that is destined for a state championship. Thank you to him. And thank you to Rick Beach and Tony Dimitri of Harris County. We'll give updates about what happened. Several teams played yesterday in the playoffs. We got several teams playing tomorrow. Today's show, Richard, we got some great guests coming on again. I told you we're trying to hit every team that's making the playoffs this year and has a chance to win a state. We're going to have on Steve Smith, athletic director and head baseball coach of the Calvary Christian Knights. They head into the GAPS playoffs as the number 2 seed. I'm going to give my gripe and see if Coach Smith, I know how he is. He's probably politically correct. He's going to say all the right things, but it's a travesty that they're the number 2 seed. We'll get into that. Also, Glenwood's coach, Tim Fanning, as the number 1 overall ranked AISA Gators, looking like the favorite to win the 3A state championship. Back-to-back would be that, and that'd be number 10 for Coach Tim Fanning. He'll have a ring for every single finger on his hands. We'll have him, and we're hoping we get Chad Mathis after their big-time playoff victory as they head into the second round. Richard, how you doing, man?
Doing great, Thrift. I'm excited. We got high school baseball playoffs. We've got action going tomorrow, Friday, possibly Saturday, and then next week. And I'm just excited that with everything going on in the world of sports. I mean, we got some big sports stories that dropped. I know we were talking before coming on the show. Did you know Reggie Bush is going to get his Heisman back? How about that?
I think that's awesome, and we'll talk about that, I promise you. We're also dropping our high school baseball ratings.
Drum roll, please. Oh, yeah.
Now, it's our final one of the regular season, and then we won't do it again until the end of playoffs. So looking forward to drop that. Got some shakers. We got some movers.
We made some surprises. I actually sent you the ratings. We kind of discussed it. There's a team that surprised everybody. They've never made the list up to now. And so I'm excited about featuring this team on our ratings for the first time this season.
I am too, Richard. And it's going to be a lot of fun dropping those. We'll talk a little NBA playoffs. Richard will give his Who Cares mock draft, top 5 if he can, players that's going to happen tomorrow, because everyone's dropping their mock drafts, and I call it the Who Cares. I know Todd McShay and Mel Kiper made a living off of it, but I have
a lot of fun.
I care. It is fun, but I don't care. And we're going to do ours just for fun. We'll do that at the end of the show. But without further ado, I don't want to keep our guest waiting too long because he's got a huge playoff matchup to get prepared for here in the next couple of days. It's really good friend of mine first, then the athletic director of Calvary that's just taking them places they probably never thought they'd go, and head baseball coach who's won several state championships. He has one for every finger on one of his hands. It is Steve Smith. Thank you so much for joining us, Coach.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate you having us on.
All right, Coach, let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to talk about the season as a whole. And in years past, Coach, especially last year, you had a lot of great victories against local teams. It was an incredible year for you last year. And because of that, you returned a majority of your players. You came in as a favorite in the GAPS, obviously, and one of the best teams in the state of Georgia throughout the middle of the season. Then you had injuries. You had a 10-day layoff because games got canceled because of the rain. We had so much rain this season. Talk about having to overcome that to finish, I think, on a high note these last 4 or 5 games. What did that mean to you during that little stretch? Because it seemed like you had a lot of adversity you had to go overcome this year, Coach.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of the season, when we first met, I kind of told you what I thought our potential blind spot was our pitching depth. And through the first part of the season, when everything was kind of clicking, we were 13-1, feeling pretty good about things. And, no one's going to feel bad for us. We've gone through a really tough stretch, arguably the toughest stretch that we've gone through in about 11 years, where we're right about 500 since then. We've never really been a 500 team, but really what it's come down to is, we've had some injuries. We've had some key guys that we've had to kind of pull out of where they were currently at in terms of depth. And again, one of our concerns from the beginning was the depth of our pitching. And so it's put some other guys in some different roles that we didn't necessarily anticipate they were going to have to be in this year. So there's been some growing pains for sure. And then you compound that with just some struggles offensively. And it's kind of put us at a point where we've just really had to kind of battle and grind through the second half of the season.
I know, and that's one thing I think coaches appreciate more than anything is overcoming adversity and finishing on a strong note. In the last 3 games, especially last week, beating Lakeside, beating Troup County, and Northside, all teams that are making the playoffs, all teams that are really good baseball teams, you beat them. And then you did have a hiccup yesterday against Brookstone, but Brookstone's a really good team, Coach, and I know you know that. That's the top team in the GIAA. How do you feel about your team as you head into the playoffs? Do you feel like you're good, or you feel like there's some things y'all need to work on as you head into the playoffs, especially, and we'll get into it in a moment, coming in as the number 2 seed in the Gaps?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, there's a high level of frustration that I have right now. So I'm not gonna hide that. I've voiced that over the last 3 to 4 weeks. We've had spurts. We've just been pretty inconsistent where some games will really grind out at bats and really just do a good job of making sure that we're having quality at bats. And then we'll have other games where maybe the focus and the attention to detail hasn't necessarily been there. So today specifically, we focused on the little details of what have made us successful in the past. We've got to get back to throwing strikes. Yesterday, saying that we had a bump in the road is an understatement. We just we were terrible yesterday on the mound, and there's not much you can do when you don't throw strikes. Good teams make you pay, and Brookstone is a quality team. They're gonna, in my opinion, that 1 seed inside of GIA is valid. That's they're gonna give everybody all that they can take. But you throw strikes, and baseball games are a little bit different when you take care of the baseball, when you throw strikes and you just grind out at bats. And that's what we're lacking on a consistent basis. When we do it, we have success, which is clear. And when we don't, we're a 500 baseball team. So we've got to really, you would think at this point in the season, you like to think that once you go through the grind of the middle of the season, that you've really kind of found your offensive identity. We're still searching for it. And, and that's a frustrating part on my part from the pitching side. We've got the highest ERA in our in the last 11 years. So we're just we're not throwing real well right now, but we better figure some things out real quick if we want to have the success that we hope to have going into the postseason.
Coach, you're 21-8, undefeated against Gaps teams, 6-0 in the region. You're taking on Johnson Ferry Christian Academy this Friday for a doubleheader. Hopefully you won't have to play a game on Saturday because you get the 2 games there. You'll be able to advance. But what is the preparation going into the Gaps playoffs, and how important was it to play tougher competition at the GHSA level, like 7A, 6A, 5A schools, and also some talented GIAA schools as well, getting prepared for the final year in the Gaps in quest for that 6th straight title?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the schedule that we played this year, will definitely, I believe, will help us prepare for the postseason. I don't think we're, the first 2 rounds, a good portion of our schedule. We feel like, we've played that competition or better all season long. It's all about the preparation for there. Like I said, the biggest thing is just, playing clean baseball. If we play clean baseball and we play like we're capable of, we're going to have a lot of success in the postseason. If we don't, we can be beat. We've been beat by teams this year that were not better than us. And that's the part that's extremely frustrating. Our hope is that, some of our pieces that have been out, our cleanup hitter has been out for about 2 weeks with a hand injury. 2 of our top pitchers, the 2 guys that we thought were at the top of our rotation coming into the season, They've only thrown one time in about the last 20-something days. So, that's just what it has done. It has created opportunities for other guys. So for going forward, and you look at even next year, it's really allowed us to get an opportunity to see some other guys. But in terms of this year, it really has been. It's been a challenge, and it really has. It's probably cost us close to 6 wins this year. Where you're looking at a completely different view of the season. If we remain healthy. But again, I mean, that's part of baseball, and that's part of coaching. Is you got to figure out a way to overcome that. And again, there's never been a season that we've won a state championship that we didn't have to overcome some major adversity at some point. So this is just another thing that we've got to overcome.
Yeah, Coach, you know how much I respect you, how I respect your knowledge of the game. It is incredible talking with you about the game of baseball. But I thought you've done a great job with this team this year, especially the 10-day layoff. I mean, that's out of your control. You talk about the balls and strikes. Yeah, that's stuff that y'all can't control and get better at. But the 10-game layoff and having not played baseball for a while, and then having to play Pacelli, who's having a phenomenal year after that long layoff. I mean, I know that's frustrating, and that's stuff that, a lot of teams I know sometimes had to deal with, but specifically y'all, it seemed like you had the worst luck during that stretch. I do want to say this, Coach, and I don't expect you to comment, but I think it's a travesty that they do the max preps thing like the GIAA does. And I don't know how in God's green earth they have King's Academy as the number 1 seed or the strength of schedule, whatever they do in their process. I looked at the schedule compared to yours. It's not even close. And the fact that you're a 5-time defending state champion, that you haven't lost a playoff game or a GAPS game in years, yet you're the number 2 seed, blows my mind. And I don't understand. The only reason I'm making a big deal about it, because if you play the King's Academy, you're going to have to go to Woodstock now. So in the back of your head, I know you take it one playoff week at a time, but do you have any frustration when it comes to that, knowing like the way the pitching's going, that, you know what, if we just have an off night, King's Academy could have an upset and we should be hosting this series?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's the frustration of not being able to host at the end of the year. I mean, this actually, to be honest with you, it's the first time in probably 10 years that we haven't been the number 1 seed at any point in the season. Wow. I don't take offense to it. Here's the deal. We haven't played well. We've put ourselves in this position. If we win 2 or 3 of those games, it's not even a question. And we're well over where they're at. They're 21-2 or 22-2. You can definitely argue the strength of schedule. But here's the deal. You take care of business and you control everything. And we have not done that. And so, to me, it's fuel. I've told our guys, like, we're not the best team in GAPS right now. Like we're not. And we haven't played like it. We haven't played like we're one of the best teams, in my opinion, in the area. So, and you can definitely hear my frustration. This is about as frustrated as I've been in a really long time. And I really just want to see, will our guys rise up, and will they receive the challenge that's been put in front of them? Or are we going to continue to do what we've done, over the last couple of months, which is just kind of played, 500 baseball. We have 500 team, and as our record over the last month and a half, is that accurate? Or are we going to find our identity and really be able to put together another special run?
Coach, I want to talk about Bailey Thorne. Last year, he hit 16 home runs. This year, he's got 12. He looks like he is going to get some offers if he hasn't had any offers already. But what type of prospect is Bailey Thorne at the next level? Are major league scouts looking at Bailey, or is he going to try to go the college route before he gets drafted in the MLB draft?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Bailey had an exceptional season last year. Arguably, you could say, a couple different polls had him in the, second team All-American, and he's kind of in that, that kind of makeup just in terms of the season that he had last year. It's really, in my opinion, kind of unfair to him, the expectations that are put on him. I mean, you look at the season he had last year, he led the nation in home runs and in RBIs, batted over 500. That's really hard to duplicate. When you look at the season he's still batting over 450, the 12 home runs, almost 40 RBIs. He's in the top 10 in home runs and RBIs in the country right now. As far as offers, yeah, he received several offers throughout the whole summer. And he made a decision kind of early on that he was going to go to Gulf Coast. He's already committed there. He's had several pro teams come and watch him throughout the season. We'll see how that kind of develops. That puts an enormous amount of pressure on a young man when there's that amount of eyes on you. And I think he's handled it really well. He's going through some things right now where just the consistency that is starting to kind of take shape with him. He went through a little bit of a tough stretch, but he's starting to come out of that and has had some really clutch at bats for us. But in my mind, he's one of the top two-way players in the country. And really, I think what he's going to do when he goes to Gulf Coast, he's really going to kind of solidify himself as a future professional baseball player. He's got the right makeup for it. He's got the skill set. Obviously he's got some things that he's got to continue to refine, as does every other player, but he's a special one to watch. He's obviously we've had a lot of great players that have come through that have gone on to play Division I baseball, several guys that we think are going to get an opportunity when their careers wrap up to play at the professional level. But, he's arguably been the best player that we've had come through. And really, I mean, statistically, it's not close. So we're really excited about what his future looks like. We're hoping that, that we can send him off with another state championship.
No doubt about it, Coach. And we are presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC, talking with head baseball coach of Calvary and athletic director Steve Smith. Coach, I think Cam Houston, who is your shortstop, has had a fantastic year this year. I want you to talk a little bit about him and anyone else that has been a pleasant surprise for your team this year.
Yeah, Cam really stepped up this year. This has been, he followed up a really strong season from last year. He shows the versatility of whenever Bailey is pitching, he plays shortstop. When Bailey's playing short, he can play third, he plays center, he plays right. He's done a little bit of everything for us, and he's been our leadoff hitter for a good portion of the season. Tommy Irving's been another guy. Like I said, he was in our cleanup spot, right before he hurt his hand a couple of weeks ago. He's almost batting 400 and it was, just has strong quality at bats all the time. And we've really missed him, kind of the middle of the lineup. Bryson Brooks has really come on late, where struggled early on in the season, has had some really clutch hits for us, hit a home run, against Glenwood, and had some really, tough at bats. As we've kind of gone through some of these, the tough stretch of the season. Carson Ward really has kind of filled into kind of that number one on the mound in terms of just taking the ball every single week and giving us good innings. So there's a lot of different guys. We've had, Drew Seville has stepped up in relief, and several guys just up and down the lineup. We've started to mix in some of our sophomores. Liam Hocutt and Jackson Kennedy have started to get some opportunities as other guys have kind of struggled. So up and down, you can look at several guys that at different times during the season, they've made some strong contributions. Our biggest thing is really getting everyone going at the same time and being able to just keep that lineup moving. And that's what we're really struggling with right now. But those guys have kind of really stepped up and had some big performances for us.
That Northside game, it was electric. I wouldn't really particularly care about talking about what happened, after the game, but it was electric. It was what baseball should represent around here. I like the animosity. I like that stuff. I know you do too, Coach. You feed off of that. So it was fantastic. I honestly, if we had to vote for atmosphere of the year, I definitely would put that number one. And then all the home runs. And Richard, it was a fantastic game. Coach, you got a big one this Friday. Tell everyone what time the game starts, where they can get tickets, and then also, we're going to be live for both of them here on Georgia Alabama Sports Live.
Yeah, so just to second what you said, that was a great environment. It was electric. It was fun to be a part of. Obviously, it's a whole lot more fun when you finish the game and you win.
Right.
But we've had several of those games this year, just with some of the local teams where it's been really exciting to be a part of. Playoffs start this Friday. We're actually going to play our middle school state championship right before we go into the quarterfinals. So our middle school will play New Creation for This will be their 6th state championship if they're able to come up with that.
Wow.
They will play at 2:00, and then after that, we start our varsity quarterfinals versus Johnson Ferry starting at 5:00, and then 30 minutes after game 1, we'll roll into game 2.
Tickets are very affordable. It's an awesome atmosphere. And, Coach, we cannot wait to be talking with you. And hopefully here in the next 3 weeks, we'll be talking with you again on this show about winning another state championship. Thank you so much, Coach, and look forward to seeing you on Friday.
Thank you, guys. I always appreciate it.
That is Coach Steve Smith, Athletic Director of the Calvary Christian Knights. We're going to take a quick break from one great AD head baseball coach to another. It is Coach Tim Fanning. We're going to have him on right after these quick messages from Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Get ready to smile.
You're watching right now the Georgia-Alabama Sports Live Show that is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Get ready to smile. We'll be right back after this.
Glenn Smith, GMC, and Opelika invite you to discover extraordinary deals like this powerful all-new GMC Sierra 1500 Pro, now up to $12,500 off. Purchase the roomy GMC Terrain SLT, discounted up to $8,750 off. And the GMC Acadia with 3-row seating, discounted up to $6,000 off. Enjoy no payments till summertime at Glenn Smith GMC. Over 300 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. Get ready to smile.
Welcome back, everyone. As Richard Holdridge is smiling as we get back. He loves that commercial, baby. And I love this next guy. Let's go ahead and bring him on. It is the head baseball coach, athletic director, my former coach, someone that I've looked up to since I was a young buck as a Glenwood Gator, Coach Tim Fanning. Coach, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, shoot. Thanks for having me, man. I'm glad that I could, be a part of y'all's show. I love what y'all do for high school sports in this area. It's been long overdue, and I just hope that everyone appreciates the work that y'all been putting in for all these schools around here.
I appreciate you saying that, Coach. It means a lot. And, we're going to be live streaming tomorrow, quarterfinals. Can't wait. We're going to be going the whole Calvary run, the whole Glenwood run, just like we did last year. So, Coach, let's talk about this team. Last year's team did some historic stuff, ranked top nationally, went 43 and 45 and 4 around
46 and 4. Yeah,
46 and 4.
Yeah.
I knew it was 4. I couldn't get the wins, but an incredible run. Coach, you beat a lot of great teams in this area. It was one of the more dominant Glenwood baseball teams that I can remember. I don't care what league that team was in. That team was winning state championships in majority of the leagues around here. But then you come in this year with a lot of expectations, and you got off to a little bit of a slow start. So talk about the maturing process and your team growing from your first couple of weeks, which you struggled, to now where they're at right now.
Well, we kind of figured that was going to be the case. When you lose 12 seniors and 10 of them go to the next level, and we only returned 2 players that had any experience on the field, significant experience in the lineup, you know what I mean? So one was a full-time starter, one was a part-time starter. So if you want to look at it that way, it's 1.5, you know what I mean? So we knew that, our sophomore group was extremely talented. We had guys that were juniors last year that, they were good players. They just never got to play because we were so good, right? So it just happens. And thankfully for us, we have that type of program where, it's not from year to year. You got guys in line to play, and sometimes they just have to wait to play. So even the guys that were, what people would look at, juniors and seniors or whatever, they still didn't have experience. You know what I mean? So it's one thing to watch someone play. It's another thing to play. Right. So, and I think it just, we had a couple guys that were dinged up from basketball as well, like, some of our top arms. So that played a factor as well. But what that did mean is a lot of young guys got to play real early too in those struggles to start with. So I think it paid dividends for us down the road. But I really just going into the season when we were meeting as a staff, I told them it would, I felt like it would take 20 games for us to get our sea legs, so to speak. And it didn't take quite that long, but it did take us about 20 games to figure out our identity and what we were doing and how to be varsity baseball players in our program and what that means and the responsibilities that carries. And how to carry themselves and how to deal with the failure of stepping up a level and, not having a great day. You know what I mean? So it, it's been fun, honestly. I mean, I've had to coach a lot more, obviously than the last couple of years. We've been, extremely good and talented and old, you know what I mean? So you're more of a manager and trying to, manage expectations and things like that. But this year it's just, just roll sleeves up and really got to sink our teeth into some great young players and coach and teach.
Coach, the team is playing their best baseball going into the playoffs. You did have a slow start, but you got big wins, taking 2 out of 3 against Lee Scott, sweeping Springwood. I think you guys outscored them like 50-something to nothing. It was just incredible. You play Morgan Academy tomorrow, doubleheader. Looking at the bracket, Lee Scott is in the other side of the bracket, so there's a chance. I don't even think, is Clark Prep the number 1 seed over on the other side of the bracket, Coach?
That's correct. That's correct. So if Lee Scott wins this week, then they would go to Clark Prep in the semifinals.
And then if you're able to beat Morgan Academy, you'll play the winner of Bessemer and Macon East. Bessemer is the home team. Macon East you faced in the championship last season. What does the competition look like in the AISA, and how does this team stack up with the remaining teams in the quarterfinals for the AISA?
Well, Lee Scott's, I mean, they're really good, and I think people are sleeping on Macon East. I think they got a very talented team too. They lost a lot from last year too, a lot of their big hitters, but they got 3 guys on the mound that compete. In our series with them, I mean, they blanked us. They had a guy that really, he did a number on us when we went over there and beat us 2-0. So it wouldn't surprise me if they were to go on the road and beat Bessemer and be back here in the semifinals. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Bessemer, they were kind of, everyone was looking at them as a team that, could challenge for a state championship. And I'm not saying they can't, because they're there, they're, hosting, but their number 1's really good. I've seen him in person here at our Border Wars tournament, but I just think, Macon East might have a little deeper pitching than they do. So I'm not sure about Clark Prep. We haven't played any of the teams in the West. Morgan, I haven't seen anything. Only thing I know about Morgan is I hope Gunnar Henderson's that's in the big leagues, his brother's not as good as he is, because he plays for Morgan. So he played at Morgan 4 years ago, and he was American League Rookie of the Year last year. I know we don't play anybody, but I'm just saying. So
right.
He's a phenomenal player. I just hope his little brother's not as good as he was.
Well, Coach, I'm glad you made that bar, because I'm so sick of people talking about the Glenwood Gators, the dominant run, 9 championships. There's been so many great players that you've coached against. You've got 9 since your tenure. You're looking for number 10. But I know you take it one week at a time. I know how you are. You don't really focus on you and your legacy is you're going to be a future Chattahoochee Valley Hall of Famer. You already got one guy on your staff, and Coach Jesse Perdue, that got in this past year. But Coach, what would it mean to you to finish out the Glenwood legacy in the AISA with 10 championships and 15, 20 years? It is some incredible number. How would that make you feel as you head into the AHSAA next year?
For me personally, I mean, it's not really about the number. To me, it's about these young men understanding the responsibility of playing in the Glenwood baseball program, and that legacy is a big deal. Ever since I took over, I felt like that was an important thing for me to recognize and to pay tribute and to give its just due, because it is steeped in tradition, the baseball program here. And as you can see, when you look at our wall outside of our, our stadium with all the guys that have gone to the next level, and and I've shared this with you before, I feel 53 years of, I don't know if pressure is not the right word, but that on my shoulders as far as us moving into the AHSA, because that is something that those players always wanted to do and never got the opportunity to do, I mean, and it's not really about saying, hey, we're going to go over there and, we're going to show them who we are, whatever. Bottom line, one of the things that motivates me is I want more of the state to see how wonderful our kids are and share that with people that we've not been able to do that with. So obviously I would like to, selfishly, I'm from Columbus. I grew up in Columbus.
Yep.
I would love to have a relationship and be able to play Columbus High and Northside and Harris County, especially like somebody like Columbus High. That was our biggest rival when I was at Jordan, you know what I mean? So, that's just kind of a thing for me personally. I would love to be able to have that relationship and play them every year. And, making this transition allows us to do things like that. So, and then, obviously in this area, it's so packed with talent in all these schools and having the opportunity to be able to play Central and Russell County and Smith Station and all these guys around here that, I mean, all our kids, they all interact, they all know each other, they all play on the same travel ball teams, what I mean? So it's not like they're strangers, what I mean? So just having that opportunity is, we're really looking forward to that. But I would really love these kids to understand when you lose that kind of team, and then if you are able to figure out a way to make your own legacy, not about the team before you, but your own legacy. I think that's a big thing. And this is our state, and this is our association, and I don't think anybody can deny that with 23 state championships. So I would very much like to go out as a winner.
No doubt about it, Coach.
Coach, we know about the returning starters, Tyler Sykes and Mason McCrane, but what are some of the other players on the team that have stood out this year getting a starting role as they get into the playoffs?
Well, I mean, basically our whole outfield is new. You got a senior in left field, Eli Bankston. I mean, man, kid, he's grown 5 inches, put on 40 pounds, like just to see the transformation. I've unfortunately, he's the third brother. I know them all, coached them all. All those things, and a great family. And he broke the curse, man. He broke the curse. All his brothers, like, and his whole family, they never got big until they left high school. They never hit that growth spurt, and he did. And I'm so proud of him. And Cam White, him from his exploits on the football field and the basketball court. And he just stepped right into center field, and he's locked down out there.
Called a game with his dad.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's really turned the corner and has gotten hot at the end of the year and kind of figured some things out. And he's super athletic, man. God, he's super athletic. They go out there and stretch, and then they run off, and he does a standing back tuck for the whole team, and he just taught himself that, you know what I mean? And that's crazy to me, you know what I mean? But, and then Hudson Campbell is a sophomore in right field. And, he was one of those kids that, struggled a little bit early, and figuring out how to be a varsity baseball player. And then on the infield, Jackson Griggs returns. He was really the only guy that started, every game last year as a junior. And he's really solidified us at shortstop, and kind of Logan Henderson has stepped up, and I'm so proud of him. He really had to earn his spot, and has had a great year. He's hitting over 400 and can bunt like nobody's business, and has played great defense on the corners. You got Levi Pender, another guy, super talented, a three-sport guy. He's actually second on the team in hitting, leading the team in RBIs. Carter Judah, he plays third and pitches as well, just like Levi. And he hits third in our lineup, and he's a sophomore. So that'll tell you how talented he is. You know what I mean? So, we got a sophomore that has stepped up behind the plate, and that's tough. When you basically got to handle a college pitching staff. I mean, because you got guys like Sykes and Mason McCrane and Levi Pender, and I mean these guys throw the ball hard, and they're breaking stuff is so good and so hard. I mean, it's tough, and he has done an amazing job defensively for us behind the plate. And then, Mason is, what can you say, man? I mean, he's got like 8 home runs, 19 doubles, 40 RBIs. He's hitting 05. I mean, he's a legit, draft prospect, and anybody knows it when they walk in the park because you can just look at him and tell, So it's been exciting for us for sure.
Coach, and it's been an awesome team to be able to watch grow. By the way, Carter Judah reminds me of a guy we know very similar. I know they play different positions, and I'm not saying they're the same player. I'm talking about what he's done his sophomore year. Reminds me a lot of Carson Bowers. He did the same thing, started on the football team. He was starting shortstop on a state championship team in 2009. It reminds me a lot of being, because I feel like Carter could be that leader for you here in the next 2 years, kind of like Carson was 2 years after, learning under all the guys like C.B. Argo, Dudley Taylor back in the day. You see me, I sound like an alumni right now, don't I, Coach?
Yeah.
Talking about the Gators, though.
Well, it's funny that you said that because I do see that kind of.
Do you?
Well, what we call it as a coach being, G-rated, we call it piss and vinegar. Like he's got that. He's got that. And he does. He plays really hard. Like that is one thing you will never doubt whether I'm getting on to him about doing this or that. And a lot of it's just growing pains. He never backs down. Like he's all in. And I mean, he plays the game with his hair on fire, and I love it.
I do too, Coach. All right, Brookstone's number 1 in GIAA. You beat them. Pacelli's ranked number 2 or 3, depending on who you ask. You beat them. Calvary's ranked number 1 in GAPS, the favorite there, or number 2 in GAPS, but I don't want to get into that. They should be number 1, and they're the favorite to win a state championship. You beat them. Right now, the private schools in this area, and then it's Central, are the best baseball programs this entire season. You beat everyone except for Central. You weren't allowed to play them this year. Talk about what that meant to be able to play against Brookstone, Pacelli, and Calvary, all guys that you respect, Coach, and you got the upper hand this year. And how that's going to lead you, in your opinion, to hopefully a successful playoff playing that tough schedule?
Well, I mean, it always comes down to execution, right? And if we don't play well, in our state playoffs, we'll lose, but it helps us when we are able to play good teams, and it's always going to help prepare you. That's, kind of the writing on the wall. Reason why, moving to the AHSAA is, fortunately for us, it's been a blessing. Like we're on the Georgia line, and I have a lot of great relationships, and basically 75% of our schedule are Georgia schools.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So playing those good programs, it gets you ready for when, the rubber meets the road. When the cheese gets binding, all those good little cliches that you want to say, because you've been in those types of games, right? And if you just continually beat the mess out of people and it's not very competitive, when you're challenged, it's going to be tough to have something to pull from, to experience wise. So our guys arm wise are, they're rested, they're not overworked. We don't have anybody. I think the most innings we've thrown is like 37. So it's very spread out over all the guys. We have to execute offensively. We're pretty consistent on the mound. We cover a lot of ground in the outfield. We have really good arms. If we catch routine balls and get people out, then we got a chance to win, but we've got to execute offensively. We got to take walks when we get them. We have a very athletic team, so we need to play small ball when we need to. We need to steal bases. We need to be aggressive on the base pass, and then get some timely hitting. And really, that's the formula for winning playoff baseball. And I think we've done that. successfully over the last, so we started out 0-4, which I've never done before,
No.
that I can remember anyway.
Right, me either.
I'm getting old, so we may have, but not to say we've started off every season. I mean, some of the best teams I've ever had, we had a slow start, and then usually the second half of the year, with the way our program's set up, I would want to say, over the last 20 years, our winning percentage is over 800 in the second half of the year, if not more than that, because I think we won. We started 0-4, we're 30-7, so whatever that is, 30-3 in the last 33 games. You know what I mean? So one of those was a tough loss to Calvary. We had a really bad inning in sixth, and pretty much controlled the game, the entire game except for the sixth inning. But there again, you go back to that, and you're able to draw upon that, right? You can't have that bad inning. We played great for 14 innings, but that one inning lost us a game, right? So, and you have to win a doubleheader to win a state championship. So, or at least you play them, and you have to be ready to play back-to-back games. So, we had a great game on Monday against Terrell Academy. They're really good.
Yeah, they are.
Dawson, Georgia, and they returned everybody. Saw some really good arms, several of them, and had a 3-2 game on a walk-off on Monday, which was a lot of fun. FPD, played them twice early. They're really good. Brookstone's really good. Played them twice. Played Chelly. So I think we're tested. It's just like I said, whether we come out and execute the game plan, throw strikes, force contact, make plays.
Selfishly, Coach, because we're going to be there the entire playoff run, I would love nothing more than a Glenwood Lee Scott state championship game. But you don't know. Clark Prep could upset them. I expect it to be Macon East in the semifinals and Lee Scott in the state championship. But you never know. But that's what I'm hoping for. Coach, thank you so much for joining us. But real quickly, tell everyone how, if they want to get tickets for tomorrow's game, what time it starts, and everything when it comes to quarterfinals against Morgan tomorrow night.
Game starts at 5:00 tomorrow. Doubleheader. The if game would be on Friday at 5:00. And only thing you show up with $8 cash. That's what we do, baby. We ain't got no Venmos, no credit cards, no nothing like that. No S2 pass, no COVID over here, baby. We're going $8 cash, and we'll welcome you with open arms.
Can't wait for it, Coach. We're going to be there. Looking forward to doing both games against Morgan. Hopefully, we won't have a game 3. Thank you so much for joining us, Coach, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow for the quarterfinal matchup.
Hey, thanks, guys, for everything you do for this area and sports.
No doubt about it. That is Coach and Athletic Director, Head Baseball Coach and Athletic Director Tim Fanning from the Glenwood Gators. Richard, let's go ahead and go to break. When we come back, we're dropping our high school baseball ratings. Those Glenwood Gators are pretty high. So are the Calvary Christian Knights. We're going to drop those and more. Thank you again to Steve Smith and Tim Fanning. We'll be back. Learn why we say get ready to smile at Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC.
You're watching right now the Georgia-Alabama Sports Live Show that is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Get ready to smile. We'll be right back after this.
Here are 3 great Chevrolet offers from Glenn Smith in Opelika. Check out the powerful full-size and fully loaded Chevrolet Silverado High Country, discounted up to $13,000 off. Or the roomy midsize 3-row SUV, the Chevy Traverse, discounted up to $8,000 off. And the perfect size Chevy Equinox, up to $7,500 off. No payments until summertime. Over 300 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. Get ready to smile.
And I'm smiling right now because we're about to drop our ratings, Richard. Richard gets fired up about these. Let's go. Guys. I'm going to be honest with you. Richard Holdridge loves these ratings. He puts them together, and then I give my critique on it. I say I don't agree or disagree. Most of the time I do agree with him because he keeps up with it religiously. So without further ado, we're going to do this. We're going to talk NBA playoffs, talk about Reggie Bush. I'm going to basically call out and maybe name call everyone of the Heisman Trophy presentation, the board, whatever you want to call it. They should look in the mirror and be ashamed of themselves. I'm glad this has happened, but it's like, why Why did it have to come out in the first place? It should have never been taken away. We'll talk about that in a
Thrift,
minute.
did it take a Johnny Manziel interview at Club Shay Shay to make this happen?
If they needed Johnny Manziel to tell them to do anything, I pray for them. And that's why I can't trust anything when it terms of voting, especially in college football. It's a travesty for sure.
It is.
All right, let's move forward towards our ratings. Remember, the ratings are based on strength of schedule, chances to win a state championship. And
Let's go.
And this is our final regular season one, and then we will have our at the end who wins state championships at the playoffs, and there'll be some moving around. So let's throw it up there, Richard. Northside, who struggled a lot this season, comes in at number 10, 10-16, still made the playoffs this year. Were they the 3 or 4 seed, Richard?
They were a 4 seed. They upset the number 1 seed last night, Ola, the Mustangs out of McDonough, to force a game 3 tonight. And I'm actually looking at the score update, anything could happen in a game 3 in high school baseball playoffs. I feel like after watching Northside against Calvary Christian last week, I feel that they're deserving of making our ratings for the first time this season.
I think so too. And Northside, even though they struggled this year making the playoffs, that was a phenomenal game they had against Calvary, as Coach Steve Smith talked about. Incredible atmosphere between them. When Glenwood came, great atmosphere. Pacelli Calvary early in the season. I mean, we've had some really good games right here on Georgia Alabama Sports Side. We even had a 6-hour game between Kendrick and Spencer. Richard, you were there for that. Hey, 28-27, something like that.
Yeah, 27-26. It went 5 hours. It's one of those things I could put on my resume.
No doubt you would put that on your resume, Richard. Of all things, you're saying I call it a Kendrick Spencer 6-hour game. Beat my chest on that one. Northside comes in at number 10. I think this is good, Richard. You tied them with Smith Station. Smith Station, as I know they've been getting a lot of flack. Team that made it the Final Four last year, returned a lot, gained Mason McCrane, who's going to Auburn. Yet they did make the playoffs this year. But remember, Auburn, how good they are. They took 2 or 3 from, I think, one of the best teams in the country. Opelika had a really good year this year. And then, of course, Smith Station plus Central. That's a really tough area. You put these teams in any other area, I think all 4 of them still make the playoffs. They had to be in the same one. A.J. Keogh talked about this on Monday, the head Central coach. Smith Station, 14-13, did finish the way they wanted, but I still think they had a really good season.
Yeah, Smith Station would have been in the playoffs if they were in another region, but Auburn was able to split the series with them, and I think that Smith Station is not in the playoffs because Auburn did take 2 out of 3 against Central, which catapulted them into the playoffs.
Jordan, man, and I know Tim Fanning, he's got to be proud of this. The Jordan Red Jackets, man, Coach David Lang. And I'm going to keep saying it because I don't think they get the proper respect they deserve in terms of resources. They come in at number 9. They did. I think they lost in the playoffs, Richard.
They did. They lost to Toombs County last night, 16-1 and 13-0. I mean, this was a very talented Toombs County team that was 19-9.
19-9 on the season, but I thought David Lang should be in the conversation for Coach of the Year. We're going to give our awards this year. And I'm definitely putting him in there. Jordan Red Jackets, incredible season, and really proud of them. Just David Lang doing great things, and I think he has got a bright future no matter where he's at. Right now he's at Jordan. Speaking of Jordan, there was a former coach there by the name of Tony Dimitri. This guy really believe in, who's done a great job with the Harris County Tigers. Rick Beach did an interview with him on Monday. This team had to overcome a lot. The same thing that Glenwood. They had a rough start to their season, 1-8, and then they just went on a tear. They won 12 of their last 18, 12-6 to end the season. Close to 500, took 2 or 3 from the region champ McIntosh, and was a number 2 seed. Now, I know they lost to a team that they wanted to beat after losing to them last year. And I know
Locust Grove.
Locust Grove. Gosh, I had that on top of it. I knew it. I was going to say it, and then I forgot it. But Tony Dimitri, in his first season, established a culture. It is tough coming in, especially with a team that had success last year. Now you got to do all new things this year, and yet they they struggled, but then they found their stride. And this team has a lot of young talent. I'm telling you, in the next 3 or 4 years, Harris County is not only going to be one of the best teams in this area, one of the best teams in the state, and that is credit to Tony. But establishing a culture, Harris County, I know they lost, great season. Because the way they started, I thought 4 seed just because of how bad Drew is. But the fact they came in as a number 2 seed, beat Northgate, beat McIntosh, the fact they lost 2 or 3 from Northside, if they played them right now, I think they would sweep them. Harris County, great season for Coach Tony Dimitri.
I'm starting to see a pattern, Thrift. So McIntosh out of Peachtree City went to the state championship last year. What happened 4 years earlier? Their Little League team went all the way to the championship for the American in the Little League World Series.
Yep.
This Harris County high school team, I think 4 years from now, when you have a player like Jacob Gilstrap who hits a walk-off home run to beat Northern in the District 8 championship, I was there. I called it. It's exciting. Remember that name, Jacob Gilstrap, because he is going to be playing for Harris County in 4 years. This Harris County Little League team that has represented Georgia the past 2 seasons, they're just going to carry over and just play outstanding ball in high school.
I agree. So great job and great season for Tony Dimitri, and bright future for that Tigers program. Number 7 is the Shaw Raiders. They got a playoff game coming up, I think, on Thursday, Richard.
They do. They play Troup County.
And they're hosting Troup County, who we know we're very familiar with. And it's a really good program and Coach Glisson. But how about the Shaw coach, who's had a great year, Coach Howie Shackelford, that you're good friends with. You love him, Richard.
Absolutely.
Great season for Shaw. Again, another team that started 3-8, I think, and finished strong. This happened with a lot of teams, and they said at the beginning of the season, every one of these coaches said, we scheduled tough to go through a gauntlet to prepare us for the end. It's not about how you start, as my granddad always says. It's about how you finish. It's not about who's the best team. It's about who's the hottest. Larry Bush, one of the great coaches in this area. My granddad, he preached that and preached that and preached that. He didn't care how his team struggled in the beginning. If he was playing good basketball, he thinks his team can win a state championship, city championship, whatever it may be. Shaw, another team that ended the season strong, and they're hosting a playoff because they finished as the number 2 seed in their region.
Back-to-back years that Shaw is hosting a playoff game for the first time in over a decade. They beat Spalding last year to advance to LaGrange. Now they're playing Troup County, which Troup County is, by the way, this region is absolutely tough. Stars Mill has only lost 2 games all season. Hardaway's got to play Stars Mill tomorrow, by the way. But LaGrange is taking on Bainbridge. You got Whitewater taking on Cairo. I'm just excited to see 2 former region rivals go at it. The Troup County Tigers up in LaGrange, led by head coach Tanner Glisson, also the football coach. We know about how great Troup County football is, but how about this? I just want to give a shout out to a alum of Troup County, Ryan Bliss, who's playing in AAA Tacoma. He's gonna be in the big leagues. He played at Auburn, and so Troup County has had its share of big leaguers or future big leaguers as well.
Coming in at number 6, a team that has really made a move, Richard, at the end of the season. So much so that they end up finishing number 2 in their region. And they started off slow. They took their losses to Brookstone and lost to Central and got spanked by Harris County 10-0. And yet this Columbus team, we talked with Chad. He was like, man, we are really struggling right now, but I believe in my team. When I saw him at the female awards luncheon last Thursday, I was like, Coach, your team's really playing hot right now, and I'm going to say it again, it's not about who's the best, it's who the hottest, especially in baseball. We've seen that in major leagues. The teams with the best record winning over 106 games last year, and the Braves got beat by a team that was playing hotter, the Philadelphia Phillies. The Columbus Blue Devils beat the Academy of Richmond last night, taking 2 out of 3. They swept them, and they're heading in the second round of the playoffs. How about the Columbus Blue Devils and Jad Mathis, Michael Nottleman? These guys are playing their best baseball, and I think they're going to continue rolling. They may even roll all the way to the semifinals of state championship this year, Richard.
Yeah, and Michael Nottleman pitched a gem against Academy of Richmond County. Now, they go on the road in the second round. On Monday, they will travel to Forsyth, which, by the way, that's about 1 hour and 20 minutes away. So I know Columbus fans are going to make that trip. They're taking on Mary Persons. Mary Persons is a team that we are very well aware of the championships that Mary Persons has won. I mean, the community of Forsyth, they rally around Mary Persons. This is going to be a very tough matchup. Mary Persons is 19-11, but I think that Columbus can do it if they just continue playing this level of baseball. I mean, they're really just playing their best baseball right now, and looking forward to that matchup next week.
I am too, Richard. Number 5 is the Calvary Christian Knights. Again, the reason they're number 5 is Coach talked about they have not played their best baseball. This is a team last year, if we were to do the ratings, they would have finished number 2 or number 3 around there. They were ranked number 1 for the majority of the beginning of the season. And again, a lot of things contributed to having that lull moment. And I think this is still a really talented team. If you go off of talent and they're fully healthy, I think they got one of the best roster, if not the best roster in the area. And I think by the time they finish their playoff run, they could be not a lot higher because they're already at 5, but they could be higher on this list. But I think 5 is a good spot. They got swept by Pacelli. They lost to Brookstone. They tied Glenwood 1-1. And then didn't play Central. I think number 5 is a good spot right now for the Calvary Christian Knights. And like I said, when we do our final ones, I can see them being up a lot higher, especially if they win another state championship. They come in at number 5, Richard.
Yeah, and the reason why they're number 5, because like you mentioned, all the teams in front of them have either split with them or beat them, and they have an opportunity to make a deep run in their playoffs. And so the first 5 in this ratings are very strong. All 5 teams are capable of winning a championship. And it just goes to show that we do factor in head-to-head.
As you should. Number 4, I think the surprise team of the year. Out of all the teams, I know Jordan had a great year. But Pacelli made it to the second round last year. But just, they struggled. They did. This year, they have been playing excellent baseball. I know they got Strong Rock tonight. Well, Richard, you got any updates on the Strong Rock series?
So I did update their record. They did defeat Strong Rock in the first game, which, by the way, Brookstone did defeat Heritage. Brookstone is going to be the number 1 seed. Now, if they lose to Strong Rock, they've got the same record. It looks like Strong Rock could get the number 2 seed, and Pacelli would get the 3 seed in the region. But hopefully Pacelli can come out and get the win over Strong Rock. They did lose to Strong Rock at Diamond Field last night. So this is a must-win game. I'll try to get a score update. Of course, we're relying on Max Preps. They did update the score in the first game of the doubleheader. Pacelli came out and beat Strong Rock Christian. By the way, the defending GAPS champions for 3A. They did defeat them 7-0 in the first game. So we'll try to get a score update as it is updated on Max Preps.
First Presbyterian Day, Strong Rock, Pacelli, and Brookstone. I think those are the 4 teams, Richard. If you look at Max Preps, they're going to be vying and probably playing in the semifinals for a championship. We honestly could have, if Strong Rock does win, number 1 being Brookstone, number 2, First Presbyterian Day, number 3 could be Strong Rock, and 4 Pacelli, which means in a semifinal, we could have Brookstone and Pacelli. We would definitely be there for that. I promise you, we would be there for that one. It'd be a lot of fun at Brookstone. And speaking of Brookstone, they took care of business. And I know Coach Smith won't be mad for me saying that they took it to Calvary last night. And Calvary played good, but it was just, again, the pitching depth later on in the game. Great call, by the way, with you, Richard. Everything started going downhill. It was just like an avalanche. And they ended up winning 16-6. I do not think they're 10 runs better than Calvary. By no means. I honestly think Calvary is more talented. They just has had some bad luck in games, and that's what happened with this one. But Brookstone's really talented. They probably got the best pitching staff out of any team in our area right now. They come in at number 3, and the Brookstone Cougars could win another state championship. Their first, I think, since 05, 06, 07, 08, 09, 10, around that area, those 5 seasons, they won a state championship in baseball around then. I remember seeing it at their park. Richard, they come in at number 3. Greg Mathis, who will join us next week. We'll have him and Adam Thomas joining us next Sunday, because we'll know their seedings and everything else as we preview their playoffs, just like we did with Steve and Calvary and what we did with Tony Dimitri of Harris County and Central's A.J. Keogh. Brookstone coming in at number 3. Incredible year for them. They finished on a hot note as they beat Heritage. I know they're playing them again, 22-5. team that had a losing record last year, Richard, coming in this year is the best team in the GIAA.
Thrift, they did defeat Heritage tonight 10-4, so their regular season is over.
Nice.
They have won the region. They are going to get a top seed. And one thing about Brookstone, Taft Middleton, I mean, this guy is all world. I mean, he leads the team with 6 home runs. He is their best starting pitcher. And their number 2 starting pitcher, Chongwoo Kim, is very good too. He was going into that Calvary game with a 1.51 earned run average. He was 5-0 on the season. But he did not last in the first inning because Calvary was hitting him. That first inning was just exciting back and forth. Calvary puts up 6 runs in the first. Brookstone had a 3-run homer. I want to say it was by Taylor Hancock. He hit a 3-run homer. But when you have talented players like Cole Stanzel and Mercer Hudson and Madden Dismuke, remember he had 7 RBIs in that 18-1 victory over Pacelli that we did on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. I'm excited about this Brookstone team. I think they are the favorites to win the GIAA championship this year because of their pitching.
Coming in at number 2 is those Glenwood Gators. He talked about it. They're 30-7. They started 0-4. That means they're 30-3 in their last 33 games. One of those losses is the Calvary. They beat Brookstone. They beat Pacelli. This Glenwood team is they've gotten better each and every week. They have probably the best 1-2 punch. Aside from Central, out of any, and honestly think even over Central just top to bottom maybe have just one of the more elite rosters in our area. But Glenwood, Sykes, and McCrane, I'd put them up against almost anyone, including Brookstone. Brookstone's good, but 1-2 punch. I'm talking about overall staff, probably Brookstone, but 1-2. I'd put those top 2 starters against anyone. And Coach Fanning made mention, all those young guys are getting experience. So that means they're going to be even better next year. The Gators, they don't rebuild, Richard. What's the saying?
They reload.
And they reload again and try to win back-to-back and basically giving, I don't want to say the middle finger, but basically telling the AISA to shove it. Here's number 24 in the last 50 years. See ya, we're out. And the AISA is saying, thank God the Gators are no longer here. I know they are excited about that. They come in at number 2. They were as low as number 5 because of the way they started, and they moved up all the way to number 2. It'd be pretty cool if we saw Central and then play each other, but Gators come in 30-7 as they get ready for their playoff run.
Yeah, and it is a playoff run. We were a part of it last year. Patterson Park in Montgomery, May the 8th and 9th. Hopefully they'll be there and possibly could play Lee Scott, could play Clark Prep, but we all want to see Glenwood and Lee Scott in the championship. And this is what the rivalry needs to do to shut the door in the AISA as both schools make the transition to the AHSAA.
And I'll tell you this now, that atmosphere is going to be electric. Can't wait to be a part of that May the 8th. Also, by the way, Calvary's probably going to play their rival, a team that is just been scratching. And this is, by the way, Calvary's last year. So they're giving the Gaps basically the finger saying, hey, deuces, we're out too. Here's another state championship, 6 in a row, 7 in a row if you count the COVID season. And they're going to be playing at King's Academy. You know that atmosphere is going to be toxic. It's going to be hostile. And I tell you what, from a guy that – and Steve Smith, who's got that bulldog in him, I know him and his team, they are salivating over going up and hushing that King's Academy crowd because they think this is their best opportunity to take down Calvary. And they love nothing more than to say, Calvary, bye, we took a state championship from you. We're going to have both of those potential matchups, unless there's an upset, on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. Cannot wait. And the number 1 team, who's been the number 1 team pretty consistently, Richard, they are 35-3. Another thing, we get on to the Gaps, which is a travesty. I can't understand why they're not hosting in Calvary. But Central, how are they not the number 1 team in the state? 35-3. I know they lost 2 or 3 from Auburn, but come on, man. Are you kidding me? They have Bob Jones, who they beat. And they have a better record then. They have a stronger strength of schedule. Yet Bob Jones is ranked higher than them in Alabama Sports Writers, ahead of them in Max Preps. They wouldn't be ahead of them here on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. And I know, Coach Keough, that's fuel to the fire. Oh, we went 35-3, and you have someone ahead of us right now? Okay, we'll show you. They got playoffs coming up this week. We'll be cheering for them. We won't be able to broadcast it. We'll be cheering for them. I think Central's bringing home a ring. They finish out this run, even if they lose a few playoff games and they win a state, they're going to finish top 5 in the country, number 1 in the state, and they're going to go down as one of the greatest Central teams of all time and one of the greatest teams in our area of all time. What a season for Coach Keogh and the Central Red Devils.
And they will play Prattville on Friday, doubleheader at Darnell Nelson Field. And looking at the bracket, they could possibly face Auburn in the semifinals.
Just like
but you're
they
right.
faced Smith Station last year in the semi.
Exactly. And I expect Auburn to win out of their bracket, and that's going to be a possible semifinal matchup, a possible quarterfinal matchup between Baker and Define. But really, it's probably going to meet Bob Jones in the championship, and they've beaten him before. And if they get to the championship and they're facing Bob Jones, you got to give the edge to Central.
And I would, but that would be a great. You're talking about 2 of the top 5 teams in the country facing off in a state championship. Richard, we're gonna have somehow, some way, we're gonna go up there. I wish we could. I wish we could broadcast it, but we're gonna do this thing right. I'm not gonna go up there like I know some people would and try to broadcast the game without asking. No, we respect ourselves a little too much to be doing some stuff like that. You're professional. You don't make that type of move. But here's our ratings and our final one. So like them, we're going to share them. I'll share them tomorrow. If you missed it, it's okay. Tell everybody, hey, tune in. This is the ratings. And we'll have another one at the end of the playoffs. All right, Richard, the last couple minutes of the show, it's time for some ranting and some raving. I'll start first. You took a trophy away from a guy that was the best player in America because his mom and dad got a house bought for them. It is the most ludicrous, stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. But that's the NCAA. I don't even get worked up anymore, Richard. I really don't, because I view them as a buffoon, as an imbecile, as someone that can't get out of their own way, literally doesn't know any better. Every type of adjective you want to say for someone that is just not right and can't do the right thing or never always have the worst luck. That's the NCAA. I don't care who's the president is. And I know this is a Heisman Trophy trust, which is honestly even worse because you're telling me all those members that are part of the trust, are you kidding me? Which is majority media members, by the way, who didn't even play in the game. And honestly, we're starting to see now media, the way it used to be done. I know everyone makes fun of Draymond saying the new media, but it is like, stop holding yourselves holier than thou. Who are you to do that? The fact that they tried to take away Reggie Bush's Heisman, I laugh at. Just like I laughed at the fact they tried to take USC's national championship in 2004. It happened. You can't take it away. Or Louisville's national championship in 2013. It happened. What are you going to just, I'm scratching out in the book? It don't matter. It happened. The game happened. I can't understand what they're trying to accomplish with this, but you know what? I'm done trying to understand things that are frustrating me, and that's the NCAA. That's the Heisman Trophy Trust. Thankfully, they did give it, but you may mention about maybe Johnny Manziel pushed them in that. If they could look themselves in the mirror and say, dang it, Johnny Manziel really convinced me that we should give it to Reggie Bush, I laugh in their face and think, why are you voting on this type of stuff? I'm off my stool.
No, Thrift, it was a good rant. Funny thing, though, the fact that the Indy Star reporter Greg Doyle has a Heisman vote, and we all know what embarrassment he has been to the media the last couple of days.
An embarrassment.
Yeah, that just goes to show that they don't really take this seriously. Reggie Bush, the most electrifying college football player of our lifetime. I watched him, 04, 05, 06, that national championship against Texas. Nobody was stopping him. He was the most dominant player in college football. He kind of had a pretty good NFL career. It didn't live up to what his college career was. And this guy, definitely, he never should have got his Heisman taken away. It's an absolute travesty. I agree with your rant, Thrift. I'm just happy to see that. And I actually, when I saw that news story, I was just so happy for Reggie Bush.
Yeah, I am too. And they smeared his name in the mud. They try to make an example out of him. And then now It's literally what the entire NCAA and college football is, one big transaction, and they try to take it away from him. The fact that that should have been the first thing when the NIL came about. Like, come on, let's go back. Let's give all these teams that we took away their national championship, put them on probation. Let's go around and admit we were dumb for that. We should have had this in the books back then instead of having it under the table and making a mockery of ourselves. No, they kept it going, and then they had to have someone like, again, of all people, Johnny Manziel to call them out. Just don't even get me started.
Thrift, I have a question, though. If colleges now don't have to require you to take the SAT to get into college, can Memphis get its runner-up banner from 2008? Because then Derrick Rose having somebody take the SAT for him, it's all water under the bridge.
Are these athletes, especially in terms of the one and done era, they're a 6-month rental for the college? You think they really care about their degree? And now they may go back, but in that 1 year, come on, man. Like, yes, they should give it back. And the fact you can't go back in history and say Memphis didn't make it. Let's pretend like they didn't play in the game. They did. So I don't care about marking in a book that I wouldn't even read or respect. So I don't care what they put in the NCAA record books or what they say or make them take the banner down because it already happened.
Yeah.
Again, I think that's the stupidest thing that you could do, but that's the NCAA. By the way, the Miami Heat are about to beat the Boston Celtics without Jimmy Butler.
Huge upset.
Bill Simmons. How do you like them apples, baby? Going back to Goodwill Hunting, man. I don't think Miami can beat the Celtics, obviously, in a 7-game series without Jimmy Butler. And with his MCL, they don't expect him to be back at all. He is done. But they can make it interesting, and they can make those Celtics fans nervous, especially since they beat them last year and then 2 years ago. And this is the 4th straight year these two teams have faced off against each other. I want to say this, too. The Nuggets have taken the absolute heart and soul away from a really good Lakers team. I think, Richard, if the Lakers are facing anybody else, they're winning. Oklahoma City Thunder, the Timberwolves, I don't care who it is in the West, they would win. They're literally playing the best team in basketball against the best player in basketball. They were up by 20. They were up by last night, 2 nights ago. They were up by 20 in game 1, and yet they still lost. I think they'll take this game 6, but it just shows it doesn't matter if the Lakers, who are playing great basketball, Anthony Davis, LeBron, everybody looked good. They literally played the best game they could, yet they lost. It's like playing against Michael. It's like playing against Tom Brady. Your best is not good enough against the best in the world, which is Nikola Jokic. I feel for the Lakers because, like I told you, I wanted Lakers Celtics. I just don't see them taking down the Nuggets.
Heartbreaking loss, but the series does go back to L.A. I think that they could win the 2 games in L.A., and it goes back to Denver 2-2. But I think the realistic scenario is Denver goes up 3-1, and I think they close it out in 5. But Thrift, I do want to talk about another heartbreaking loss Monday night. Because the Sixers had this game won against the Knicks, up by 5 with 40 seconds left to go, and then the Knicks pull a Reggie Miller with 6 points in 14 seconds. I mean, we've seen this before because we saw Reggie Miller do it.
Right. And the thing is, Embiid had a great game. He had 35. Maxey, who was sick, had 34. He outplayed the Knicks' best player and Jalen Brunson. By the way, another double-double for Josh Hart. I'm telling you, he's getting on that Jimmy Butler train.
Those Villanova players, I'm telling you, I think, Thrift, I'm going to make a comparison. The Knicks are scouting Villanova players like the Eagles are scouting Georgia football players.
I like it, Richard. I think the Knicks are going to take the series. If the 76ers were healthy, I honestly think the 76ers could make it to the NBA Finals. I think the best series, though, and it's going to come down to the wire, Suns are done. They're not beating the Nuggets. Timberwolves, they couldn't even beat the Timberwolves when Anthony Edwards looked like poop last night. And not only got beat, got demolished. Jaden McDaniels. is just stepping on the throats of
good defensive player.
Unbelievable defensive player. Had his best offensive game. Obviously, he's not a 25 point per game point per game guy type of guy, but you get that, they're unbeatable, and that guy's incredible. I think he has a very bright future, and he's only 23 years old. I think that series is done. Looking forward to Pelicans Thunder. I think the Thunder win the series, but I don't think they'll even come close to beating what I think is going to be the best series of the playoffs for the first round. Clippers Mavericks. I think that's going to go down the wire. I think Kawhi, if he gets healthy, I still am going to take the Clippers because I think the Clippers got one of the best rosters, if not the best roster from 1 through 9 in the NBA. And I think they can match up depth-wise with Boston. Denver can't, but Denver has something that neither one of them have, which is Nikola Jokic. But I think that series is going to be great. James Harden, where did this James Harden come from? Paul George, who's been great. Zubac, Luka looked good. Kyrie, we have not said one bad thing. I'm going to say this, man. I'm going to rake myself over the coals. Maybe it's more us than it is Kyrie. I know a lot of it is self-inflicted, but maybe the media, provokes someone like Kyrie, and he's like, you know what? I'm not even going to give them the time of day with my opinion because they don't deserve it. And this guy's been great. Mavericks, if they do beat them, whoever wins this is going to beat Oklahoma City Thunder or the Pelicans. They're going to make the conference finals. So I think Nuggets, Timberwolves, that's probably going to be the best second round matchup. But the best first round, Clippers, Mavericks, winner of that, I think is going to go to the conference finals.
I absolutely agree with you, Thrift. I think that this matchup between the Clippers and the Mavericks is going to go 7. I can't wait to see the Nuggets Timberwolves. That's going to be a great second round matchup. But we'll see what happens. So over in the East, I think it's the Boston Celtics and everybody else. But right now, Miami is pulling off a huge upset. I did not expect this. I thought that the Celtics were going to sweep the Heat, especially without Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, I love it. Hero's got 22. Bam Adebayo's got 21. Caleb Martin's playing like he did last year. Remember that Caleb Martin Game 7 game? He had 21 tonight. Jovic has got 11, 14 for Jaquez. And then you got Highsmith, Wright, and Robinson, who've done a good job off the bench. Tatum played pretty good. He shot 50% from the field. He's got 28. Brown's got 33. But White struggled. Holiday struggled. Porzingis is 1 for 9.
Wow.
Obviously, that's going to be your Achilles heel. If he has a mediocre night, they're probably beating the Miami Heat. This is how good they are. But enough of the NBA. We'll keep talking about that as the playoffs go on. Last thing I want to do, Richard, we've been already going an hour and 15, so we won't go too long. It's I don't care, NFL mock draft. So give me your top 5. Who's going number 1? And I'm telling you, the more I read, he's incredibly talented, and maybe it's just this generation. But, man, this generation, they blow my mind. Caleb Williams, stuff you're hearing, and a lot of this has to do with, this happens every year in the draft. They try to throw stuff out there so he can fall down. Teams put stuff in the media so they can fall to him. Every NFL GM, apparently a lot of them are saying that he's weird. They don't understand it. He's weak. He doesn't have the mental fortitude. I think the guys are going to be a great quarterback. But some of those things can be, cause for concern. But I'm going to give the guy the benefit of the doubt and let him at least play it out. Who are your top 5 picks, Richard? Let me hear it.
All right. The Chicago Bears are going to draft quarterback Caleb Williams from USC, the most sure prospect since Trevor Lawrence, and that's just my opinion. All right. So the Washington Commanders, they're going to get a quarterback here. I think that they've been going back and forth between Jaden Daniels and Drake May. I think they get Jaden Daniels. I think that he's got a little upside. That means the Patriots are probably going to get Drake May. Now, are they happy about this pick?
I think they are, honestly, because everyone I've heard that covers the Patriots, they say that's the quarterback they want. So I think that'd be a dream scenario for them, Richard.
I agree, but you also have a defensive mind coach, Gerard Mayo. He's just a spitting image of Bill Belichick. They've got Alex Van Dyke is the offensive coordinator for the Patriots. He is the former offensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns. Maybe that he could develop him. Right now the quarterbacks in the room, you got Jacoby Brissett and Bailey Zappi. And so Zappy, man, it is Zappy. Thank you.
You gave him the
I'm trying to give him the French.
Hey, yeah, you gave him the French inning. All right, give me 4 and 5, and then give me a Falcons pick so we can wrap.
No, there's no question that the number 4 pick is going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. You've got to get Kyler Murray a weapon.
And that's the Cardinals, right?
That is the Arizona Cardinals, the number 5 pick. You got Jim Harbaugh, the Los Angeles Chargers. He likes to build physicality in the draft. I mean, I would say that the Chargers probably need to take Joe Alt because he is the best offensive tackle, but I think they get Malik Neighbors because Keenan Allen is no longer on the team. He's now on the Bears. So, yeah, Malik Neighbors, wide receiver from LSU.
So you got 2 wide receivers, 3 quarterbacks going in the top 5.
Oh, yeah, it's a skilled league now. I mean, it's 2024.
Falcons, who do you think they grab?
Well, every mock draft that I have seen, they are all got Dallas Turner as the edge rusher. But what about Jared Verse from Florida State? He's the other edge rusher. I mean, wouldn't it be Falcon-like if Jared Verse ended up getting double-digit sacks and making a Pro Bowl, and Dallas Turner is like, But I do think that Dallas Turner is a double-digit sack guy. They haven't had this since Vic Beasley, although he was a one-hit wonder. He had 16 sacks. The last
consistent would be John Abraham.
John Abraham was the most consistent pass rusher that the Falcons have had. They need a pass rusher. I mean, they have rolled the dice on several players like Dante Fowler. I mean, you have Calais Campbell, but he's getting up there in age. Bud Dupree. I remember that when they ended up getting OCU Minor from the Giants. And, you got Grady Jarrett. He's going to be coming back from injury. Pere Jerry, a complete whiff. I mean, they absolutely whiffed on that. How about Tack McKinley? That was like the biggest disappointment. Oh, I tell you, they have like got some hits and misses on their edge rushers, and so they need to get an edge rusher here. But it would not surprise me if they ended up getting like Brock Bowers. I mean, seriously, the Falcons have selected 3 skilled positions in the last 3 years. I mean, I would not be shocked if they got Rome Odunze or Brock Bowers.
I think that's a great point. Well, we want to say thank you to our guests, Steve Smith and Coach Tim Fanning. The Braves swept the Marlins. They just keep on trucking. Renato Lopez had a great, by the way, a pitching day today. We appreciate all the support that we have gotten. Make sure to tune in to Sports Vision's radio show tomorrow with myself and DJ Jones from 4 to 6 p.m. You see I'm in the PMB Broadcasting Sports Vision studio, Kiss the 99.3 studio. We'll be live tomorrow, 4 to 6 p.m. Sports Vision /TV/radio/magazine on Facebook and on YouTube. Well, Richard, had a lot of fun today. We dropped our ratings. Thank you to Steve Smith. Thank you to Tim Fanning. Appreciate all the support. We will be live tomorrow. We got CVCC at 2 o'clock, and then 4 softball, and then at 5 we have Glenwood quarterfinals starting, and I'll be there for game 2. Richard, you'll be doing that game 1 as they take on Morgan, and then Friday we got Calvary quarterfinals. Saturday CVCC baseball, and we'll do it all over again next week. From Richard Holdridge, I'm Thrift Barringer. Appreciate you. Peace out, and we'll see you tomorrow on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. Glenn Smith Chevrolet, close us out.
Thank you for watching the Georgia Alabama Sports Live show presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. You're ready to smile.